Maybe the other will do it.
Last time I started it, someone told me, oh, that's how you're starting.
That's how you're going to start? I have a lot of opinions and not a lot of ideas.
I'm going to get a shirt made for you that says that.
Because it's true.
I have a lot of opinions, but not a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Fic List. It's a podcast where we talk about fan fiction.
Eloquently put, Alan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm Alan.
I'm Erin.
And I've always wanted to be part of a book club. That's never really happened for me. I've never made it around to a book club. But when Erin told me she read fan fiction, I was like, oh, we're doing this. We're going down this rabbit hole. So this is what I want this podcast to be, is a fan fiction book club where we read stuff. And then you guys hear us talk about it. And then you guys can tell us what you thought about it.
Yeah. By comparison, I was in a book club and left the book club. Because reading a full book was too much commitment.
I'm just going to read 3,000 other stories instead.
I have a short attention span. And I want the exposition to be done for me. No, so I've been reading fan fiction since I was probably 13, and now as a 26-year-old, I'm like, I've had this whole backlog of this intensely, interesting, material in this big part of my life that I've never really talked about outside of one or two people. And then Alan comes along, and we start talking about fan fiction, and I sent him a fan fiction via text at one point to, broach that topic. And now we're talking about them, and that's a really cool and kind of scary thing, but, it's nice to have a chance to talk about something that I sincerely enjoy with someone else who sincerely enjoys it, and, really kind of examine the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah.
And the, truly insane. But more on the line of the good, because, there's some really good stuff out there.
We'll do an episode at some point where we strictly look for bad, but...
I think we should do an episode where we find the most out there fan fiction that we still enjoy.
Oh, I love that.
Where's the line for each of us?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But that's for future episodes.
Yeah.
Why don't we talk about... What tags are we doing this episode, Erin?
This episode, we're going to do Angst, and then we're going to read some roommate AUs.
Ooh. What is an AU, for anyone who might be listening who doesn't know the terminology?
If you don't know what an AU is, it's an alternate universe where you place known characters in a new setting. So it could be taking them to a different time period. It could be in the same sort of time period, but a different place. Or a lot of AUs will be if you have a superhuman character, removing their powers. So what would happen if they didn't have magic or superpowers? Or whatever it is. Yeah. So, alternate universe is what AU stands for.
It's so good. I love a good alternate universe.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, so we decided to do 2 tags per episode for now, and then we always reserve the right to change the format.
We're figuring it out.
Yeah, we're navigating this, but 1 tag that is just a content tag, and then 1 tag that is a different type of AU, since the world of fanfiction is all about reimagining the source material in different ways. There seems to be an infinite number of alternate universe tags to play with. So we're starting with some, common ones, and then it might get weirder as time goes on.
I am sure
we'll probably revisit some popular ones and, think of new and creative ways to send, because everyone has more than 1 roommate AU.
Oh, for sure. There's some of these tags we're going to have to come back to at some point, because there's just so many. Okay, should I talk about the one I read first this week?
Yes! Please!
Oh, God.
Please, everybody just preface this with the comment that I included when I sent this recommendation to Alan, which says, ... I'm just gonna need you to accept the premise on this one because it's good. And you do have to just accept the premise on it. Yes.
So, alright, so the fic is called Easiest Way to Go is Up. The writer is WriteThroughTheNight. It is the Avengers, Marvel movies fandom fic. The summary is, Clint Barton is the Avengers' token human, but Clint Barton is not human. Not fully, at least. Or, the one where Clint has wings and no one knows. And I think that is the best summary that could ever live for any fic ever. So this is a fic with Clint Barton, who is Hawkeye, and Phil Coulson, who is the agent. It's all I know. So I've seen the first Avengers movie, and that's all I've seen. I'm not a superheroes movie guy. I don't like comic books. All the gay gamers are like sharpening their pitchforks to come for me because I'm not.
Fine.
I'm not about it. So
Marvel is like the biggest fandom that I'm in currently. Like that.
That makes sense.
It used to be. I used to 100% be a Kleiner. I used to be very into Glee fanfic, and then that all went to hell in a handbasket. We don't have to talk about it. And then Marvel is the thing that I read now. Like it's
really.
It is, I would argue. I think it's the biggest tag that I have.
Wow, that is so surprising to me.
Yeah,
but that's awesome. Like I read through some of them, and luckily I have enough of I haven't watched all of the Marvel movies. But I think I've watched like enough to kind of know it. The only one I haven't watched, and I know it's like locking me out of so many fan fictions, is Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier. Yeah.
No, and here's why that's upsetting to me. That's my favorite movie in the entire cinematic universe.
I might have to watch it. This is the angst pic that you sent me, wherein Hawkeye actually has wings, is actually a hawk.
Yep.
I thought it was good. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed myself. It's very angsty because... So the thing is that he, like, I guess it's like a family trait, that like a recessive trait that, like, his mom has wings, but she doesn't really pull them out, and then his come when he's 6 years old or something, and he lives with an abusive father, and he tries to learn how to, like, put them away, but he doesn't really want to, because he's like, but I'm pretty now.
Right.
And then the father, like, breaks a bottle and is like, oh yeah, well, we're about to, like, not make you pretty right quick. And we don't see that happen, but it's essentially like child abuse fic. And then later on we find out that his older brother also, like, is jealous of his wings because he didn't get any. So he, like, also hurts him and hurts his wings. Yeah. And so... he grows up to be this, like, very reserved, repressed human who doesn't let anyone touch his wings except Phil Coulson. Him and Phil Coulson have kind of an established relationship.
They're married.
Yeah.
They're full-on married.
But they don't
talk about it.
Yeah, they don't talk about, like, the... there was no courting or, like, getting to trust you. There's, like, a little moment where Phil Coulson is shown the wings and, like, then he can touch them, and Clint is like, oh, yeah... he's the only one that can touch him, and, like, it's a sweet thing. And then he dies. Fucking Phil Coulson dies, which I don't remember. Does this happen in one of the movies?
Yes! It is a major plot point of the first Avengers film.
Well, fuck me.
Buddy.
You know what it is? I watched, like, a season and a half of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., wherein he is still very much alive.
Did you see the first Avengers film?
I did, but it was so long ago.
Okay, so the crux of it is that Coulson is stabbed by Loki in the, like, third act. Oh. And dies on the helicarrier or whatever, and Loki, and they find him in, what's his name? Snakes on a Plane. Fury grabs he has the Captain America baseball cards on him when he dies, and they're bloody, and he brings them to the Avengers and is like, it's time to damn well avenge or whatever, and that's the moment that brings the whole team together after they've been very disparate. So they all kind of go around Coulson's death. I think Tony says something along the lines of, like, well, this just made it personal or something like that. And they go and they chills. Yeah, and they go get him.
Because now I needed that context for this story. Fuck. Oh no.
Yeah. Okay. And then there's definitely a fandom theory or like a headcanon that he didn't actually die. Right. He was just, like, in a deep coma or something like that, and Fury has been hiding it the whole time. Because that is, like, a thing that Marvel would do, but it's not at all a fan. I also love the juxtaposition between canon and, like, fan canon. Yeah. Because this fanfiction in particular is chock full of fan canon references. Gotcha. That, like, if you don't already read the fic of this particular fandom, you might not also get some of those. Yeah,
a lot of it flew over my head, which is unfortunate because, again, I don't really watch them, and I kind of understood. Yeah. But yeah, so we live in that universe where Nick Fury is hiding away Phil Coulson. Yes. Because he wanted to make sure that the Avengers happened and that they were fighting as a team and so forth. If you missed it, Phil Coulson is married to Clint. Yeah. Clint Barton. And so Hawkeye is so fucking depressed the entire time because he has lost his husband. And it's so fucking sad. And I'm so, like, the whole time I'm like, ugh. He can't catch a break.
It's an angst fic.
You were right. Alan! I know, and you're so right. But, I was so, like...
I love angst.
Do you really?
I love it, yeah.
I need... we'll talk about it when we get to my pick. But, anywho... So, yeah, this was really good. Yeah, definitely, I'm kind of glad for you have to let go.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because you wouldn't think that someone having wings in a universe where they have superpowers is like, unbelievable. Mm-hmm. But it was a little. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, you just have to accept the premise.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like, if you can't get over the premise of it and it is so weird for you, you're just like, eh.
It was good. I thought it was like very, like, quintessential angst. It was like dark childhood, tragic backstory, child abuse, loss of a partner. It was so good. And in the end, where they find out that Phil Coulson is alive, essentially, and the Avengers find out that Nick Fury did this to, like, lie to them, essentially. And they, like, say, we're leaving. Fuck you. And it's so satisfying. And I lived for it. And there was tears, because I cry at everything. It was good. There's something about it, though, that kind of left me, like, I couldn't get into it. I don't know what it would be. I feel like the narrative wasn't strung together very well. Like, it felt like there are moments, like, we're starting his childhood, and then suddenly he's, like, waking up after the accident or whatever, and it doesn't tie together as well as I would want it to. It doesn't flow. But that's really the only thing I can kind of say about it. Because it's very good, it's very well written, it's super angsty, like, I was angsty the whole time reading it. I enjoyed myself, it was a good time. I do wish I had known, like, all of that stuff we just talked about, because I do feel like if I had known all of that, it would have hit me, maybe more, but...
I also tend to think, so particularly with Hawkeye in the Avengers sort of fandom universe, there's not much to go off in the movies. Like, you don't know a whole lot about him. So there's a lot of fandom canon that exists about Clint Barton that this fic heavily relies on, or I think heavily relies on. And it also does come a little bit from the comic books, I think, but because I don't read the comic books, I don't know this for sure. But, like, a lot of the backstory with his family, I think, comes from either comic books or just, like, fan canon.
Yeah, like the circus thing, I imagine must be somewhere.
It's somewhere in something.
Yeah.
His brother trying to kill him when they were in the circus, I think, is a comic book thing, and like, but if you don't have all of that contextual information for this fic in particular, those jumps feel real hard to fill in. And it also glosses over the whole first Avengers movie in a lot of ways, where you know, all of that stuff happens. So if you even don't remember that, like, the premise is a little hard to pick up on. But
it was good. I enjoyed myself.
Glad you enjoyed it despite that.
Yeah, I love a good fic. It'd be really hard for someone to write a fic that I didn't enjoy. Well, maybe that's not true. But
I can 100% not enjoy things.
I'm very forgiving.
Yeah. My favorite is when I read an entire fan fiction that I hate just to spite it. It's fine. Sometimes you get a part of the way through something that's not well done and you're like... And then you just have to finish it because now you're in it. That's not the case with this fiction at all. I loved it. Like, I picked this one. I had a really hard time picking an angst fic to send you. Yeah. It was a really hard tag to pick.
Something about, like, general tags is just so hard.
Yeah. But I had an even easier time with fluff. I think angst, in some ways, is, for me, it starts getting into also the question of, like, what do I want to cop to reading? Like, how dark are we going here?
Exactly. Like, I wasn't sure, how much death am I sending your way? Like, how much hopelessness do you want to read?
Well, because I have a propensity for reading a lot of angsty stuff and, like, hurt comfort and a lot just like...
Hurt comfort, I live in hurt comfort. Well, maybe not too, but I like it a lot.
So I was just like, well... And then this one kind of cropped up. I just went through my angst tag on Archive of Our Own and was like, okay, like, this one rides a line for me where it's angsty for sure, but it's not hyper violent or like hyper angsty, and it's still good and whatever. I don't know. This one just kind of, it was one of the last minute sort of like, by the wire.
My angst fic was the same, but yeah, this was good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good angst fic. Really wish I had more of the context, but that's, I guess, more on me. Who goes reading a fan fiction of something they don't fully know?
Except us.
This is my problem with superhero things. Is that, like, I went in because of Avengers. I've seen the first movie. I know the characters. That should be enough. But no, you should have watched the fucking third spin-off with Hawkeye to know that he was in the circus. Like, there's just so much you need to know to fully enjoy it. And there are people who know.
Right.
Like, there are people like, oh, well, that's because in the third comic book, Hawkeye does. I don't know why it's all the third.
I don't know. There are going to be people who listen to this and are like, how dare you not know the deepest, darkest thread lines.
Email me, like, a timeline.
Even to me.
Email us a summary, because I would love nothing more than for someone to explain things to me.
Yeah.
But it's just, like, one of those things, this is what I hate from, like, superhero things, is that no matter how much I watch, there's always something that I don't know. And it's exhausting. Mm-hmm. So, what would you rate easiest way to go up? You
read it. You have to rate it.
Oh, okay. Well, I would say 3. Solid 3.
Yeah.
3 out of 5.
I could accept that.
Should we go into what I sent you, Erin?
I don't know why you're so nervous, because I loved what you sent me.
Oh, good!
It was really good.
The way you phrased it, you're like, I can't wait to talk about it.
No, it's the next one.
It's
the next one.
Yep.
But this one was fantastic.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
So for someone who really likes the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I have not delved particularly deeply into X-Men.
Oh, yeah.
It's not something that I know too much about.
Right.
I knew that Charles Xavier was James McAvoy.
Yep.
And Eric Lehnsherr is Magneto, who's the other guy.
Michael Fassbender, yep.
Yeah, that one. So I knew that. And was like, okay, that's fine. And as long as kind of I have like a actor in my head, sometimes it's fine.
Yeah.
I love that it was a historical AU. I always, for some reason, really enjoy World War II AUs. I think they're really fascinating. I like that this placed them on the side of the resistance. I think that made sense. And it was just really well written. Like, this, as opposed to other fan fictions that we've talked about, it's a very full universe, which I liked, just inherent in the one shot.
So what fic is this?
This is Photographs and Memories by tirsynni, Tirsynni on Archive of Our Own. And the summary is, when war-battered Eric Lehnsherr met Charles Xavier, the man kneeling in the dirt and whispering to a lost refugee child, Eric feared his days of running from his deviance was done. Which the summary does not do it justice at all. The concept is that Eric is a resistance fighter in Nazi Germany, and he's Jewish. He's lost his wife and child to Nazi violence. And he meets Charles Xavier, who is a wealthy Englishman who's housing refugees on in his mansion and his property. So Eric is bringing these refugees to Charles for safekeeping, which is very in keeping with the X-Men sort of theme of Charles Xavier, with his school for whatever. And I think they translated, correct me if I'm wrong, Eric in the actual sort of comics has a lot of shame and issue with being a mutant, and then that translates into wanting to, like, make mutants the top dog or whatever, and, like, doing that. Because they're not mutants in this universe at all, they navigate that sort of self-loathing really interestingly as self-loathing for being homosexual or queer in some way. Yeah. And I liked that a lot. And it was just really well written through the whole thing. It's a lot of Eric pining for Charles Xavier and not letting himself have him. And then they do have a night together, and he basically is like, well, I'm expecting to die in this war, and I will take that happy memory of what happened with me to the grave, and no one will have to know. Yeah. And then they actually reunite 2 years later after this night that they spent together in Germany, and Charles Xavier has been on the front lines as a British officer. And Eric didn't know that. And he was like, I just thought you were like happily living in the countryside, and this freaks me out. And they get together again. They have an ongoing relationship. And then at the end, spoilies, Charles gets shot in a raid. They're working with the French resistance, and they're in Paris, I think. And they think they're out of the woods with what they're doing, and then at the last minute there's an attack, and Charles gets shot, and Eric has to carry him out in his arms, and it's very dramatic. Yep. It's like, oh, I'm losing the people I love. Yeah, and he's like, and there's a moment, this is the line I wanted to find. He wanted to survive, and he wanted Charles with him. Everyone else be damned. For the first time, he realized that he could possibly survive the war, and Charles might not. And it's so well done, because through the whole thing, Eric is basically living a life where he's like, well, fuck it, I'm going to die anyway. Right. So, like, with somebody who, that's the pivotal moment for him where he's like, I wasn't expecting to have to live with this. Yeah. That is such a good angst turn. And I will say, they do have a happy ending. It's angst with a happy ending, where he comes back to bring some officers to meet with their families who are staying at the Xavier mansion or whatever. And Charles Xavier is alive in a wheelchair, and they get together, and presumably they live, relatively happily ever after. So, it's good.
I'm glad you liked it. Yeah. This was the last fic I found. Because, again, I also had a lot of trouble finding angst. I, full disclosure, like, I don't bookmark all the fanfics I've read. And a lot of them are stuff that I don't think is accessible to you just yet. I'll ease you into it. So I had to search through, like, terms or, like, tags or to find the things that I was looking for. And I only searched angst with a happy ending because I'm such a baby. I was like, I cannot deal with a sad ending.
Oh my god, Dad. You're such a soft boy.
So sorry.
It's so funny. I have 1,911 bookmarks on Archive of Our Own.
Dear God.
Fanfic.net is older. I bailed on fanfiction.net years ago. But
that's the most people, I think.
Yeah, right. Am I even still on there? Ooh, I am. It has my password saved, which is ideal because I don't remember it. How many bookmarks do I have on there? Favorites, I think is what it's called. Favorites. Favorite stories. 1,791.
Jesus Christ, Erin.
And then that's not even counting all of the bookmarks I have tallied. So, live journal.
Oh, God. Live journal.
If I had to guess, another somewhere in the 1,000. And Tumblr.
Erin, please.
I have a lot of material to
You really
pull from.
do.
I really do.
But I was jealous for a second, but then I'm like, you know what? This is kind of liberating because then I can just go and search. What's going to kill you at some point is to be like, I have the perfect story. And then you won't be able to find it.
I won't be able to find it. Yeah, it's hard because I have this like encyclopedia of stories that I read at one point in my brain. Some of them are deleted.
Yeah, oh, that's the worst.
Some of the stuff that I was like, oh, this would be really good. And the worst is that Archive of Our Own, when you bookmark something and then it's deleted, it says, this fic was deleted, sorry. But it doesn't tell you what fic it was.
Oh, no.
So there are some fanfictions that I'm like, this is just gone, and I don't know what happened to it, and it's so frustrating. Anyway, that was part of what ran me up in terms of trouble with angst fics, is that I was like, there's just so much to choose from, because angst is definitely, like, one of the top tags in my bookmarks.
Big one, yeah.
It's big. I mean, we all, like, haven't we all sat and watched, like, 18 episodes of Law & Order SVU at one time?
We have.
You know what I mean? It's that same thing where for some reason we really enjoy our characters suffering a little bit.
You say that a lot.
I'm trying to justify this because it makes me feel crazy and, like, awful, but...
The best thing I can think about is we've all imagined our funeral at some point, and, like, who's gonna be there?
I actually really haven't.
Oh, well.
I don't super want one. But I also don't super want a wedding. I feel like I don't want to be the center of attention even in death.
Erin, please.
We maybe need to talk about that at a later date.
Yep.
But I think there's something about angst that is appealing because it's like high dramatic tension too. And like, I don't know. There's,
It's like escapism in a way. Like, I don't know. Like if you're having a shitty day, people in the stories are having the worst day.
That's true. And also it's like safe danger.
Yes, exactly.
Because it's like when you're watching a movie or reading a book or something, like it's tense and dramatic and whatever. It's like, if this happened in real life, this would be awful. But I really enjoy, like, reading this because it's catharsis in some way.
Exactly, cathartic,
Yeah.
So what do you give Photographs and Memories?
Solid 4 out of 5.
Nice.
It was good.
Yeah.
You did a good job.
Yay.
Let's
end the episode there.
No, we're going to talk about it because I have so many feelings and I'm sure you have feelings because I picked okay. So the next tag that we went with the AU for this episode is Roommates AU, which is another very quintessential fan fiction.
To me, this is the quintessential.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think I was the one who suggested this AU and I just I had so many in my brain for this.
There's a ton.
And I sent you the one that stuck out in my brain the most, but I also recognize that it's a hetero ship.
Yeah, I guess we should talk about it at this... I don't know how to say it.
Just say it. We can edit it out later.
I am a homosexual.
We know, Alan! That's not a secret!
Exactly. So I am a homosexual man, cisgendered, and I started reading fan fiction because I love to read. And when I was growing up, there wasn't a ton of accessible homosexual men fiction published. Like, I couldn't just go to the school library and get a book about two men being in love as, like, easily as I could get, like, 50,000 books about the quirky girl and the loner kid and loner guy, you know? So I went online to find all of that. So all of the fiction that I've read online is male-male pairing because that is what I'm into, and that is what got me here, and that is the hill I will die on.
You're like, that is the party I was invited to, and that is the party I will leave.
Exactly. So that is why most of everything that I will ever submit and send will be male pairings. So I guess we'll go this way. Is the one that you've sent me was a female male pairing called, aptly enough, Roommates by Cookie. This is on Archive of Our Own. It's a Parks and Rec fic. Leslie and Ben pairing. And the summary is, Leslie and Ben are roommates who give into mutual temptation. Or the one where Leslie and Ben really need to learn how to communicate, and Anne is a magnificent starfish.
Which is, like, accurate. Like, that's actually a pretty great summary.
It's really good.
The art of the fanfiction summary is hard.
Yeah. So this fic, first of all, I have seen episodes of Parks and Rec. I've never seen all of it, which is unfortunate. But I knew enough about Leslie Knope, and because she's obviously the protagonist. I know enough about her, and I've seen a few with Ben Wyatt in it, and so I'm like, I had actors in my head, and I was like, I knew kind of their personalities. It was just great. What this didn't really properly set me up for was I didn't realize they were college roommates until about halfway through the fic. I thought they were full on, like, grown-ups living together. And then they started talking about, like, Leslie mentions, like, oh yeah, your rule about not sleeping with freshmen, and I was like,
What?
25-year-olds sleeping with college?
Don't all adults have that rule? Yeah, no, it's in the tags, but it's not made super clear.
That makes sense.
No, if you're not reading college the tag, then...
So it's additional tags, romantic comedy, alternate universe, college university, porn. And that is so accurate. Because, okay, this is another one. I thought this was a long one. I don't know why in my head I was like, I think this is 6 chapters.
It's a long one shot. It's a long one shot.
That's fine. I thought it was 6 chapters. So I started reading it, and they started having sex within, like, the first page or so. And I was like, oh, okay, they're just going. I was like, where's the story going? And then realized it was a one shot, and I was like, oh, okay, God, I understand.
Yeah.
But also...
They give into mutual temptation, Alan.
Holy shit, I was like, I don't know that Leslie Knope and Ben Wyatt would have the kind of sex they're having in this story.
It is a little out of character.
It was so hot. I was like, yes! Yes! Because Ben Wyatt is, like, totally my type. Like, throw some glasses on him. So the first thing I'm going to say is, premises that Ben Wyatt is, like, a player and gets laid a lot.
Which is like,
I also thought so. I was like, okay, sure.
I should have put the same warning. Just accept the premise on this one.
It's fine. And then, like, you know... They're, like, playing around, and Leslie's like, well, why haven't you slept with me yet? And then, boom, they're fucking. I was like, whoa!
So good.
The thing I needed, like, it's so hot. This fic, I was, like, fanning myself on the metro, which, by the way, I was reading it on the metro. And I was like, whoa! I, like, dimmed the brightness on my tablet because I was afraid someone was reading it over my shoulder.
That's the worst. I'm not gonna lie to you, I read some of this at work.
Yeah?
And on my phone, specifically, and then I opened up your Roommates AU tag and went, nope, and closed out of it and read it at home.
So I don't know, something, like, that fantasy about roommates, I guess, is really good. Which, I mean, I live with... You live alone and I live with a woman, so...
Right. I mean, it's an accessible...
Yeah.
thing, but it's also safe danger because have you ever watched roommate things implode when people have gotten together?
Full on.
So if you can just like have it in fanfiction life and not have to like actually fuck up your living situation,
so true,
so much better.
But like, there's a part of me that always wished that I could have this. Like, think of how convenient it would be. I'm talking to the ace person. It's just like you have sex. You, like, order some chicken wings, you eat chicken wings, you have sex again, then you each go to your own room.
The chicken wings sound delightful. I'm very into chicken wings. I mean, that's why people move in together, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's convenient.
It's convenient,
right?
Yeah.
But there is that element of, like, a shift in relationship that becomes convenient. Like, oh, like, we live together as friends, and now there's just, like, you're here. And it's kind of like you skip a step. So I get the appeal, but also, like, I so love living alone.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. This one felt a little weird setting this one to you in full disclosure because it is so sexual, and I was like,
I loved it.
We're about to, like, cross that line in our friendship
I'm glad.
And send each other porn, essentially.
Yes!
And I was like, all right, cool. This is not how I anticipated our friendship going when I, first met you.
This story was really hot, and I will go back to the story. Like,
Good.
I really enjoyed it. So Leslie Knope is like clueless as she kind of appears on the show, kind of like there's a word for it. It's when everyone else notices something but you're not, like not observant. Oblivious. Thank you. That's what exactly. Yeah. She's a little oblivious about the fact that essentially her and Ben Wyatt are now dating because he spends all his time with her. Yeah. He is like bringing her coffee and sweets, and they're like having sex on every piece of furniture in their apartment. Literally all sex. So much sex happens, and she's still just like, oh well. He doesn't like me that way. It's just sex.
She convinces herself he's seeing someone else.
She does. I was offended. I was like, Ben! But I also love those types of things where, like, you realize that they might be cheating, but you know they're not. Yeah. But the character doesn't. It's like that, what is it? Like dramatic irony? Yeah. Where the reader knows there's no way that he's seen someone else.
There's no way. But she, like, comes back from a trip and she's like, I want to be exclusive. And he's like, aren't we? And she's like, I know that you're seeing this other girl. And he's like, no, like... When would this have happened? Yeah. I'm confused.
I am with you all the time.
All of my time with you. I love that. I love the, like, I don't want to see other people. I didn't think we were seeing other people.
And he says it angrily. Mm-hmm. It's like he looks upset that he's like, I thought we were. And I love that when they're possessive a little bit. Ooh.
I wasn't aware we were seeing other people, is what he said.
His tone is quiet, but there's no mistaking his anger. I live for that.
And then she's like, I know about the girls. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he just starts laughing. Yeah. Because he's like, no. That's like clearly like a long time ago. Like she's either lying, like this girl that you overheard is either lying or stupid or it was in the past. And he's like, no, I'm not. I spent all my free time with you. What the hell? And she's like, I'm so sorry. And then, of course, they bang. But,
yeah, they do.
But they have a moment of just, like, they didn't talk about it. They didn't establish the relationship. So there's just this miscommunication, and then they resolve it. And it's really
wonderful. Good. It was so good. And, like, Anne is there, and she's very
Anne is so perfect.
It's amazing.
I always go back to the episode of Parks and Rec where she's like, Leslie is, like, this close to actually throwing herself at Ben in the show. Yeah. And she's like, Anne, you have to stop me. And Anne's like, but I don't want to. Like, I want you guys to be together. And she's like, Anne, I'm relying on you. And she goes, no, stop, don't do it. And then Leslie goes, shut up, Anne, I'm doing it. And she goes, yay!
Yes! Yeah. Another show I need to get on the bandwagon.
It's so
There's
good.
so much I need to... Let's not talk about that. That's a whole conversation. We'll just keep going in a circle. But yeah, this was delightful. It was beautiful. Mm-hmm. Like, this didn't make me cry at all, which, like, of course, it wasn't meant to. It's porn.
You never know. It could be porn with feelings.
Yeah, porn with feelings. Which I got. I was there. I enjoyed it. I don't think they would be that... The stuff they were doing in that fic, I don't think real Leslie and Ben would be doing.
It's pretty out of character.
But I'm here for it. I enjoyed it. This was a good Roommates. I'd give it a 3.8.
That's actually pretty high praise, considering I sent you head fic.
I know.
I was expecting you to not like it, honestly. Not like it, but just be like, it's not my jam. And I was like, okay.
I love a good jam. That's on true. Some toast.
I hate you.
I'm so sorry.
So much. You cannot say that, especially right after we're talking about weird sex.
So true.
So, can we talk about what you sent me?
Please.
It's called You Belong With Me.
Yeah.
By Spellwovennight. Mm-hmm. On Archive of Our Own. Mm-hmm. And it is Teen Wolf, Derek Hale, Styles Stilinski, roommate fanfiction. Mm-hmm. And boy, I have some questions.
Give us a summary, Erin.
I also don't watch Teen Wolf, so I don't know people. Derek and his roommate Isaac, they have rented this house, and they were gonna room with these two other people who have gone off and gotten their own apartment because they're a couple. Mm-hmm. So Scott McCall and Styles Stilinski show up, and they're gonna be the new roommates.
Yes.
They're in a university that is some kind of werewolf vampire thing. So their classes are all like mythology based. Uh-huh. And they're all taking classes and it's a thing. And then, things ensue. Derek is all bitter bus because he wanted the nice room and he doesn't have the nice room. He doesn't like Scott and Styles or whatever. He finds them annoying and then messy. And loud, and they're having sex all the time and he's not and he's bitter bus about it. And then at some point in the narrative, to be honest, I had a hard time reading this.
Sure.
At some point in the narrative, Derek is like, well, like he does the thing where he's like, I refuse to admit it, but he's attractive. And he's like, Meow, and then everyone's like, you clearly have a crush on him. And then he's like, no, I'm just bitter. And they're like, ugh, and it's a thing. And then Derek is like at home dancing to Taylor Swift or something.
Yeah.
And then
he's stressing. He's working on his thesis, Erin.
Right. And then Styles shows up and is like, oh, you are human. And it's like, no, he's a vampire or whatever he is.
It's called Teen Wolf, not Teen Vampire.
Whatever. I don't give a shit. So after that, the like ice is broken.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, like kind of into each other. And then they start smoking pot all the time.
Yes.
And they like lowered inhibitions, start like cuddling and hanging out. And then they have like a lot of sex.
A lot of sex.
And I'm like, okay, fine. But like... It didn't do anything for me.
That's fair.
I skipped over the sex scene because I was like,
sure.
And that's not to say that I don't read and enjoy sex scenes, because there are some that are fantastic. I sent you a very graphic
yes, you did.
thing, and I love that thing.
It was good.
It just like this one wasn't.
That's fair.
It wasn't my jam.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that will always turn me off is the like wolf dynamics fan fictions.
Oh, interesting.
I can't stand them. The like alpha, beta, omega thing.
For sure. Interesting.
I think it's really contrived, and it tends to be really frustrating for me, and I'm like, I don't like it. I don't get it out of my fic. I will opt out of even a well-written ABO fanfiction.
Oh,
because it's just not my thing. So I think that was part of it. I was like, meh. And then it went on kind of long. It wasn't written particularly well.
Right.
And it's a fandom that I don't know a lot about. So when something is written not well in a fandom you don't know, it's a lot harder because you don't have the exposition and you don't have the context.
Yeah.
To then just jump into something. Mm-hmm. So this was not my favorite of your recommendations.
That's fair. I was surprised. I was waiting for you to not like a fic a while ago. So if the last one is the one that you don't like, I'm okay with that. Which, to be honest, kind of glancing over it again, I didn't realize how inaccessible it is. Because I think this might have been like one of the first ones I chose, and I didn't realize. Because obviously I've seen the show, not all of it. Again, my roommate loves it, and so I was watching part of it with him and enough to know the characters, and I had to look up a few things. But yeah, it is really inaccessible as far as like if you don't know the fandom, you're not going to have a great time. And it also seems to do that thing you hate, which is like telling, not showing. Yeah.
I think my preference in fiction is to actually be a little bit more wordy and not rely on dialogue as much.
I love dialogue.
I like well-written dialogue, but I think that's where a lot of fiction falls apart very easily.
Yeah, and that's fiction in general, not like fan
yeah,
fiction.
Not just fan fiction. But dialogue is so hard to get right.
Absolutely.
That I think a lot of fan fiction does itself a disservice by doing more dialogue than regular.
To me, though, like, if I open a book and it's like all descriptors, I can't. I need a balance.
I think if you go too far in the other direction, it starts to be an issue. But I tend to prefer things that have a little bit more meat on the bones around the dialogue, and this is very dialogue heavy.
Agreed.
That's fine. Also, the friends were kind of annoying.
Yes, agreed.
I was like, but I didn't know if that was character or...
I think the characters were a little two-dimensional. I will tell you, the thing I really liked about this is the whole Taylor Swift thing. I know it's dumb, and it's like not totally out of character, would never happen on the show. I enjoy a good, like, we're just gonna dance to let our frustration out moment.
I hate it.
I love it.
I hate it.
It gives me life.
That's not my life, and I don't understand people for whom that is a thing.
You've never, like, just danced?
No. I do not express joy in motion. I certainly dance a little bit.
Sure.
And, like, you know, everybody's had a song that they, like, bop around to.
Sure.
But this, I hate. I
love it.
When people do the fanfiction thing where it's like, oh, they caught me singing and we like sang to each other and looked at each other's eyes. Because I'm like, no one fucking does that.
I would.
Oh, gross.
I would absolutely do it. I would do it in a heartbeat.
Oh, I hate it.
If we have any listeners interested out there, I'll go to your house. You just tell me when
you are gonna
what
get
song you're singing.
Some emails that you do not want.
Probably.
I just think it's so cheesy and overdone and corny, and it's not realistic. And like, if someone did that to me, I'd be like, get the fuck out of my house. Like, no.
I think I really enjoy it.
It's just not a thing that resonates with me, and it doesn't resonate for me in like rom-coms either. Like,
Sure.
Yeah, it's not truly a like fan fiction thing.
Yeah,
I think
like just in general, it's an idea that you don't like at all.
It's so overdone.
It's
it
fine.
was okay.
Yeah,
I didn't love it.
That's okay.
It was the only one that I started reading and then put down and like was like, oh shit, I have to finish this.
Yeah, like it's an assignment.
I have to read this.
Yeah, exactly.
And even the sex wasn't particularly like, because I didn't care.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It was like, whatever. I don't know. There's something about It's like not...
It's like a procedure.
Yeah, it's like overly clinical in a weird way.
Yeah, like we do this, and then we're doing this.
Yeah,
and then we're doing this.
And it's like the idea of what it would be like to be intimate with someone. And
exactly.
like, it's just not particularly realistic for people. And this is coming from someone who's never had sex, so who knows?
Sure.
But I feel like it's very stilted in some ways. And it does the thing where it's like the friends walk in and they're like, "Are you guys gonna stop being weird now?" And they're like, "Leave us alone!" And
is
I'm
that
like,
a trope you also hate?
how many trope? No, but like anytime a fan fiction gets too tropey,
I see.
I'm like, oh, you've just churned out a fan fiction with this. Like, it fits the mold a little too much. So, yeah, this was not my favorite.
That's okay.
I would probably say, like, what did I rate the High School Musical one?
3?
This was like a 2.25.
Okay. I gave it a 2.5. No, I don't know that we're both rating it, but I also wanted to throw my head in there. Rereading it, I'm like, well, could have done better. But I just think, again, this was one of the first ones I found, and I was like, that'll do. And
that's fair. Sometimes you just gotta pick a thing to send to your friend.
Yeah, indeed. I apologize.
It's not a reflection of you personally. You didn't write it, I'm assuming.
But I chose it, Erin.
That's fine. There is a weird pressure to, like, I gotta pick the best one.
Yeah! At a certain point, which is probably what happened with this one, is like, I was like, there's no hope. I'm never going to impress her.
We talked about this a little bit, and in person, not on the podcast, but fanfiction is like a deeply personal thing, and people often don't talk about it. More people know that I'm queer than know that I read fanfiction, although that is about to change.
Woo!
To share it with someone is almost like opening up your diary and being like, this is something that I really like, and this is something that's deeply personally, like, interesting to me in a way that you don't even do with like TV shows or whatever. It's much more intimate, I think, to share your fan fiction interests with people than, not like you have to trust the other person a lot. But there's also that pressure to be like, well, I gotta prove that it's good.
Exactly. Which is a really interesting thing because like you read a shit ton more fan fiction than I do. And so not all of it is good. So I shouldn't be feeling so much pressure. But yeah, it is a really interesting thing. It is so personal because it's like, well, I've got to show the other person that it's like good stuff.
Yeah, you gotta, like, justify it somehow.
Exactly.
And I'm like, why do we have to justify something that I enjoy?
Yeah.
This is not Pulitzer Prize winning prose here, but, like...
There are a few.
There are some that are really good, and there are some that are perfectly, like, middle of the road, enjoyable. But, like, there's also middle of the road books. Like, who gives a shit?
For sure.
You know? And I think that's what appeals to me about doing this podcast, because I think a lot of people take the opportunity to make fun of fan fiction and not take it seriously.
Exactly.
But there's some really good shit out there, and, like, we both sincerely enjoy this, and I think a lot of people sincerely enjoy this, but because there's this weird stigma about it, we don't talk about it in serious ways.
Yeah, when I was doing research while we were starting this, I researched like other fan fiction podcasts, and a lot of it was just people reading fan fiction that was weird or like strange, and like they were laughing at it and they couldn't keep a straight face as they were laughing at like the stuff that was being read. Which there's a lot of that ridiculous or like over the top or strange fan fiction even. But there's really good writing out there, like genuinely like tug at your heartstrings, emotional physical reaction to it. Writing out there, and I think that's like I was really excited that I found someone who like likes it on that level, and to be able to like talk about it and like have our own little book club, our fic club, if you will.
It's the fic list.
It is the fic list.
Yeah, I like that we're taking it seriously. Not like overly seriously,
Yeah,
because it's ultimately fanfiction. But like, we're not just disregarding it and being like, look at all these crazy kids writing all this whatever. Like,
we're looking at the merits, we're looking at the shortcomings, we're like we would any other book.
Or just like any other media that we're taking in.
Any form of art.
And I think there's a lot of people, there's clearly people out there who've given a lot of their time and energy to writing this fan fiction. Because if you look at the volume of work that exists online, like, it's insane. Like, people over time have written tons and tons, and there's more every day. So we can't be the only two who sincerely enjoy this.
Right.
It's just something that we don't talk about. And I think when people do talk about it, it tends to get really cringy. And that's really unfortunate, because I think there's a way to talk about this that isn't... I don't know. There's a way to talk about it without making the people who are in the things that are being ficked uncomfortable. There's a way to talk about it that is respectful of the fact that, like, if you're writing fan fiction, inevitably there's a real actor somewhere who might come across this, or like there's real people who wrote this story, and like there's ways to be respectful of source material, but take it and have fun with it and do your own thing.
Yeah. Well said.
Thanks. Sometimes I say good things.
Sometimes.
So anyway, pretty successful first couple of episodes.
Yeah, I would think so.
This so far.
If you're listening and you enjoyed it, tell us you did.
Send us what do you guys think about alternate universe tags? When you think about fan fiction, what is your quintessential AU tag? Mm-hmm. Because clearly Alan and I have different ideas about what that is, and that's fine. He can be wrong.
Oh my god.
What would you argue is the sort of quintessential fanfic AU?
Alright, well, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.